It is the greatest mountain chain in the world. It is the majestic Himalayas. The Himalayas, also Himalaya, are a mountain range in Asia, separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan Plateau. By extension, it is also the name of the massive mountain system which includes the Himalaya proper, the Karakoram, the Hindu Kush, and a host of minor ranges extending from the Paamir Knot. The Himalayas stretch across the northeastern portion of India. They cover approximately 2,400 kilometers and pass through the nations of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Bhutan, and Nepal. The Himalayan range is made up of three parallel ranges, often referred to as the Greater Himalayas, the Lesser Himalayas, and the Outer Himalayas.
The Himalayas, an exotic area of the world that many people dream about visiting. Often considered to be one of the finest treks on Earth, the Annapurna Circuit is second in popularity, only to the Everest Base Camp trek. The trek is notable for its climatic changes, stunning views and wild scenery. The trek begins at Besi Sahar, and takes you through subtropical meadows and rice fields, before heading up into the alpine peak section. The Annapurna area was opened to foreign trekkers in 1977. The original trek started from the market town of Dumra, situated at the Kathmandu-Pokhara highway and ended in Pokhara, and took about 23 days to complete. Road construction started in the early 1980s, both from Dumra to the north end, from Pokhara to the west end, then up the Kali Gandaki Valley.
The road has now reached Chamj on the Marsyangdi River Valley and Muktinath on the Kali Gandaki side. Of the trek's original 23 days, only 5 walking days of the trek are now without a motor road. In places, new trails and routes have been marked, so that the road can be partly avoided. The existence of the road has nevertheless changed the area, appearance, and atmosphere of the villages. Annapurna Trek is the most spectacular trek in the world. Hiking Nepal's Annapurna Circuit is one of the most stunningly beautiful, life-changing experiences you can have on your travels, and it is pretty sure that you'll be absolutely captivated by the area from the very first day. On a trek in the Annapurna region, you will encounter rich local cultures and generous hospitality in the settlements you pass, visit mountaintop monasteries, and enjoy incomparable views of the Annapurna and Dhaulagiri ranges. Complete the classic Annapurna Circuit, tackle a trek to the base of Makaputchar, tack on a safari in wildlife packed Kitwan National Park, or simply chill out in pretty Pokhara.
Winding through some of the world's tallest mountains and diverse climatic zones, intensive days spent on your feet, and enjoying the beautiful hospitality of the Nepalese people, and their quaint mountain villages, you'll spend on the Annapurna Circuit Trail are some of the most inspiring and challenging you'll ever encounter, and the arrival back to Pokhara will feel so rewarding. The Annapurna Circuit is a trek within the mountain ranges of central Nepal. The total length of the route varies, between 160 to 230 kilometers, depending on where motor transportation is used, and where the trek is ended. This trek crosses 2 different river valleys and encircles the Annapurna Massif. The path reaches its highest point at Thoru La Pass, touching the edge of the Tibetan Plateau. Practically all trekkers hike the route anti-clockwise, as this way the daily altitude gain is slower, and crossing the high Thorong La Pass is easier and safer. In addition to the Annapurna Circuit Trek, Annapurna 7 Passes Trek or Annapurna 7 Hills Trek is also popular in the region. However, This is less traversed and is off the beaten path trek in the region. The mountain scenery, seen at close quarters, includes the Annapurna Massif, Dhaulagiri, Makhapa, Manaslu, Gangapurn, Tilikopi, Pisang Peak, and Pongdanda. Numerous other peaks of 6,000–8,000 m in elevation rise from the Annapurna range. The trek begins at Besi Sahar or Bulbuli, in the Marsyangdi River Valley and concludes in the Kali Gandaki Gorge. Besi Sahar can be reached after a 7-hour drive from Kathmandu. The trail passes along paddy fields and into subtropical forests, several waterfalls and gigantic cliffs, and various villages. The Annapurna Base Circuit trek usually takes about 15 to 20 days, leaving from Kathmandu with a stopover in Pokhara, before returning to the capital. The trail is moderate to fairly challenging and makes numerous river crossings over steel and wooden suspension bridges. Tea houses and lodges along the circuit are available for meals and accommodations.
Regarding the difficulty of different forms of mountain activities, trekking is situated between hiking and climbing. It is a combination of hours-long walking on diverse terrain with the equipment and camping. Those trips may take many days or even weeks, depending on the trails. Over the last few decades, risky trips of the free-spirited adventurers turned into properly organized expeditions available for everyone who seeks an unorthodox way to see beautiful landscapes and meet other cultures. If you are interested in experiencing the thrill of the unknown, you can't miss the trek to Annapurna region. The ethnic and environmental diversity, variety of ecosystems which include tropical jungles, bamboo forests, deserts, and snow-covered slopes makes the trek an unforgettable experience. Thanks to the magnificent scenery and also well-organized expeditions, region is very popular among the trekking enthusiasts. Technically, spring begins in mid-March, but by mid-February the winter days are becoming longer and warmer, and the trails are starting to bustle with life. So these months cover the last month of winter, through spring, until the start of summer. Spring is the most popular time for climbers to summit Annapurna 1, so this is one of the most exciting times for trekkers to visit the Annapurna region. Nepal's autumn officially starts in mid-September, but the last 2 weeks of the monsoon season are definitely open for trekking. By early September the trails are drying out, but the crowds haven't arrived yet, so although you may still be susceptible to the odd shower of rain, you'll generally have the place to yourself, making it one of our favorite times to trek the Annapurna Circuit. By mid-November the autumn, fall, becomes pre-winter, where the snowfall hasn't arrived yet, but the temperatures will soon drop below a comfortable trekking level. Therefore, mid-November is the latest trekkers will depart on the 14-day trek of the Annapurna Circuit.
According to the opinions of many trekkers, Annapurna Circuit is challenging though not an overly difficult trek. The hardness of the route is determined by many factors, such as duration, weather, altitude sickness, the physical condition of the travelers. To those who are used to hiking in the lower mountains, this trek will be a great adventure. There can always be some minor inconveniences like overcrowded tea houses, blisters, and poor weather, but the everyday challenges only make the expedition more exciting and memorable. If you are not convinced about the classic circuit, you can always choose the alternate routes, Annapurna Base Camp or Annapurna Sanctuary, which are relatively easier ones as the elevation is about 1,500 meters lower. The adventure, like the Annapurna trekking in Nepal, requires the preparation. There are essential information about the steps you need to take prior to your first Himalaya expedition, as well as the things that should be considered. Let's take a closer look at the packing and preparing your body for this challenge. It was vital to take some time to make yourself ready to fully enjoy the expedition of your lifetime. Those days spent on the trek, in mountain villages among cordial and hospitable people will leave beautiful memories for the long years to come. Who does not dream of a trip to the Himalayas? As appealing as it sounds, you must be aware that not your all-inclusive holiday in your country with the same warm and sunny weather every day. Take into consideration that you have to educate yourself in the field of the high mountains trekking, before you even book a flight, especially if you are a novice.
Although the Annapurna trekking is deemed a moderate trail when it comes to the hardness, still it is the Himalayas. Staying fit in such an expedition is a matter of great importance. Remember that daily distance covered during the trek is approximately 4 to 8 hours. Always plan your trip ahead, so that you have enough time for building your stamina. It is easier for active people who do jogging, swimming, or other endurance training, especially in the mountains. For them it will be just another physical challenge. If your previous experience with trekking is scant, the expedition can be strenuous. For a month or two before departure, try to improve your condition by doing cardio exercises and long-distance walking. The key issue which is often overlooked by the beginners is training with a backpack. Feel the difference between a stroll with nothing on your back and a trek with a 5 kilograms load. Packing for holidays on the beach seems complicated? Get ready for the Himalayas. If you choose Annapurna for your trekking expedition, you should be prepared for a variety of climate zones and high amplitude of temperatures. Be reasonable and carefully select your equipment, so forget about an extra pair of cute jeans or the hair curler. Your chosen clothes should have some thermal property, and be easily adapted to your body temperature. It is crucial especially in high mountains. Comfortable garments will guarantee the full enjoyment of the journey. Sleeping bag, good waterproof hiking boots, at least 2 or 3 pairs of hiking socks, goose jacket, waterproof jacket, trekking pants, fleece jumpers, thermal tops, breathable underwear, beanie, neckband, sun hat, sunglasses, gloves, first aid kit, water bottle with filters will be more useful for your backpack.
While some of the trekkers prefer lone trips, it is recommended to set off on a trip around in a group, especially if you are the beginner. Traveling with professional guides and some friends has many benefits. It is a very convenient and safe option, as the accommodation, food, and permits are already organized by the third-party organizer. However, pick wisely your partners. Bear in mind that your best friend or fiancé is not necessarily the best choice if your physical conditions are different. Consider the size of your team. The more people are in a group, the slower the expedition moves. This is why the optimum is 2 to 4 members with whom you will spend several days and nights. As was already mentioned earlier, there are only a few months during a year that are best for trekking in Nepal. You can choose a spring, March to May, or autumn, September to November, expedition. The weather in the foothills, like Kathmandu, is quite warm then, and it wavers between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius or more. Although the higher you climb, the colder it gets. Mind you that, at nights the temperatures fall below zero. During these months, you don't have to worry that the peaks, such as Thorong La Pass, will be snowed under. The rest of the year is not suitable for trekking, especially throughout the monsoon season in Nepali summer. Despite the good meteorological conditions, there can always occur some anomalies and sudden weather changes typical for mountain climates. Be sensible, listen to the guides and locals, regularly check the forecasts.
In the high elevations, your body needs to adapt to the new conditions where the oxygen in the air is on an insufficient level. Altitude sickness is not something that occurs only among beginners, as even the most experienced mountaineers suffer from it. This step of preparation cannot be done in your home, but on the actual expedition. In order to acclimate to a higher altitude, you need to stay hydrated while trekking, eat enough snacks with proteins, and the most important, gradually increase the elevation. Move at your own pace and avoid gaining height more than 300 meters per day. The Annapurna Circuit trek was designed so the altitude changes were as gentle as possible. Do not underestimate the mental preparation, which in mountains is crucial. The very thought that you are surrounded by the highest peaks in the world can be overwhelming. Depending on your attitude and state of mind, if you are used to different kinds of activities, you need to get ready for the inconveniences and harsh conditions of the trip, such as minimal amenities at tea houses, high altitudes, strenuous walks, toilet conditions, etc. And despite its beauty, the Annapurna trek is long and tiring. Keep your head clear and stay positive, because once you finish the tour, you will experience the feeling of the greatest satisfaction and contentment.
The Massif of Annapurna has been attracted mountaineers and trekkers with its impressive splendor for decades. With 30 peaks above 6,000 meters and the highest one of 8,091 meters, it is a perfect scenery for a voyage. There are many trails that some of them circle the mountain and others lead to the base camp or the picturesque valleys, making the Annapurna the queen of the trekking routes. You don't have to be a professional athlete to enjoy your trip with active adventures. You'll be surprised at what you can achieve with the experienced guides at the trek and a little camaraderie. That said, you'll definitely enjoy yourself far more if you do some preparation, so your body is conditioned and ready to enjoy and make the most of the outdoors. The Annapurna Sanctuary Trek has a mixed bag of accommodations, due to limitations within the sanctuary itself. Most tea houses sell beds, rather than rooms, therefore in some locations rooms can be quite small and host 4 to 6 people. Pillows are provided, but you may like to bring your own pillowcase. As with the Everest Base Camp route, the tea houses in this area have a common area for eating meals and relaxing, which can get very busy during peak season. Bedrooms are usually accessed from outside, and locks and keys are provided.
It's important for anyone planning on attempting the Annapurna Circuit treks, or other high-altitude treks like Everest Base Camp, to know how to reduce and cope with the symptoms of altitude sickness. Before you go, learn the best ways to beat altitude sickness and stay healthy overall at high elevation. Here are the most important tips to keep in mind. Give yourself time to acclimate to the elevation. Gradual height gain spread out over a number of days is key. Take rest days. Symptoms including headaches, insomnia, and nausea usually wear off in a day or two. Drink plenty of water and avoid alcohol. Eat a lot. Trekking burns a lot of calories. Keep your pace slow. If you do have headaches, ordinary painkillers, along with rest and hydration, should take care of it. If your symptoms fail to improve or worsen, descend.
Annapurna's tea houses beat the huts on other classic treks for convenience, cost, and local color. Tea houses charge about $25 per day for a room and meals, and they're never more than 3 hours apart, making it easy to keep a flexible itinerary. Here are 5 tips for staying in tea houses. Choose a tea house before 3 p.m. to beat large guided groups to the nicest places. Choose a smaller one for better meal service. Take a shower immediately after arriving, most hot water is solar heated. Order breakfast before going to bed to speed your morning departure. Bring a padlock for your room and a ground pad for the beds, which may be foam, straw, or just blankets.
There is another trek you can take through the Annapurna range. The biggest difference between these two trails is elevation. The Annapurna Base Camp trek reaches a maximum elevation of 13,780 feet. The Annapurna Circuit trek travels to over 17,770 feet. Hikers must consider their level of fitness for that 4,000-foot difference in altitude. If you're concerned about your age, health, or level of experience, you may want to choose the ABC trek. Hikers who prefer the circuit trek say it has more options for day hikes and side trips. Others say that the ABC trek is a better choice as the weather is getting warmer, around April, because hikers gain altitude faster on the ABC trail and can beat the heat more easily than on the circuit trek. Guides and porters are not expensive. You can find a porter that charges as little as $18 a day and a guide will cost about $25 a day. Be sure to factor in tips. If you're satisfied with their service, it's customary to tip guides about $10 a day, per person, and porters about $5 a day. The general rule of thumb is about 10% of your trekking cost.
It is time to look at one of the most important things you need to know before heading up the Himalayas. The process of acclimatization, which is often referred to when talking about trekking at high altitude, is a temporary change within the physiology of the body to cope this lack of oxygen. Acclimatization is basically the process that your body goes through as it adjusts to the high altitude of the Himalayas. Whether you are heading to Kathmandu to take on the bone-chilling trek to the Everest Base Camp, or you are simply catching a flight to Leh, you will go through acclimatization. Dizziness, headache, nausea, vomiting and acute mountain sickness, AMS, are common complaints as you move from the comfortable plains down south to the dizzying altitudes of the Himalayan range. Why does this happen? Your body generally functions perfect fine, or at least as fine as it usually does up to altitudes of around 8,000 feet, a little less than 2,500 meters. Above that, however, the environment changes. 8,000 to 12,000 feet is considered high altitude, while 12,000 to 18,000 feet is very high and anything above that is extremely high. In these altitudes, the level of oxygen in the air drops, but your body still needs that sweet O2, especially as you huff and puff your way up the mountain slopes. And it starts acting up as it realizes that there is a scarcity and adjusts itself to the new environment. That's called acclimatization. Some people acclimatize fast, some don't. But it is a lot smoother and less problematic if you know what to do beforehand.
How do you acclimatize better? You cannot avoid acclimatization, but there are ways to make it less of a headache from hell. For one, you can make your ascent to higher altitudes gradual. Acclimatization can be a pain. If you are in Delhi one morning and get down at Leh Airport 3,250 meters above sea level, in less than an hour and a half. Take the road if you can, it can be less of a pain, and is more memorable. As per the rough rules, after hitting 10,000 feet, you need to stay overnight for every 1,000 feet you ascend and for an entire day after ascending 3,000 feet. You also need to drink plenty of water and other liquids as you climb up. Soup, milk, juices, ores water and plain old water are great. Black tea and coffee aren't, however, and alcohol certainly isn't recommended. You shouldn't drink too much water either, it may lead to cerebral edema, a more serious condition characterized by weakness, confusion, and hyponatremia, low sodium levels. Keep checking your urine levels, it has to be clear and colorless at all times.
As you climb up, you need to avoid overexerting yourself or sleeping. Overexertion raises your body's demand for oxygen where there isn't much. And sleep just slows down your breathing, which isn't very good for your body either. At any point, if you feel like you are not acclimatizing properly, you need to get down to safer and more comfortable altitudes. How do you know if you are not acclimatizing properly? Walk in a straight line, toe after toe, and ask your companion to check if you are doing it right. If not, head down a bit. Other things to avoid: tobacco, smoking, and alcohol. You are in the midst of beauty, you don't need any more substances to give you a kick. Antidepressants and sleeping pills should also be avoided. If you take these on a prescription or any other medicine, talk to your doctor before you head up. In fact, talk to a doctor about the risks even if you don't take any pills. Stay warm and dry, and chuck the gym diet and gobble up as many carbohydrates as you can. Sleep upright against the wall if you can, and always carry AMS medication, once you run it through with your doctor, of course.
What is AMS? AMS or acute mountain sickness is what happens when acclimatization goes wrong, and it is pretty common. You have medicines available for it everywhere, but check with your doctor before you take any of them. Headaches, dizziness, nausea, poor sleep, a general feeling of discomfort, shortness of breath and fatigue are common symptoms of AMS. You can descend a few hundred meters if you have a mild case of AMS or take some medicine. But severe cases of AMS, like a decline in mental abilities and an inability to walk, requires immediate medical attention and a descent down by 600 to 1,200 meters. Diamox or acetazolamide is a popular medication to alleviate AMS and acclimatize better. It lets you use more of the oxygen that you breathe, and is particularly helpful when sleeping at high altitudes. Diamox is generally recommended to be taken once 24 hours before you head up the mountains. The standard dosage is 125 milligrams, taken twice a day. Different people acclimatize at different rates, so you should only move up when everyone is comfortable. If you think you're getting AMS, stop ascending and wait until things are back to normal. If it gets worse, go to a lower altitude immediately until things are better. Stay safe, and you can enjoy the otherworldly beauty of the Himalayas in the best way possible.
Himalayas are rich in biodiversity. Climates range from tropical at the base of the mountains to perennial snow and ice at the highest elevations. These complex and diverse ecoregions are interconnected. An ecological threat to one is ultimately a threat to many. Here are just a few examples of Himalayan ecology. Montane grasslands and shrublands. Western alpine shrubs and meadows can be found between 9,850 and 16,400 feet. These areas tend to have cold winters and mild summers, that allow for plant growth. Rhododendron plants cover the lower shrublands, while the alpine meadows, directly above, host a range of flora in the warmer months. Animals found in this region include the snow leopard, Himalayan tahr, musk deer, and pikas. Temperate coniferous forest. In the northeast, temperate subalpine conifer forests are found at elevations of 8,200 to 13,800 feet. Located in the inner valley area, these forests are protected from harsh, monsoon conditions by surrounding mountain ranges. The dominant tree types are pine, hemlock, spruce, and fir. Animals found in this region include red pandas, taukines, and musk deer.
Temperate broadleaf and mixed forests. Found in middle elevations of 6,600 to 9,800 feet in the eastern region are broadleaf and coniferous forests. These forests receive almost 80 inches of annual rainfall, mostly during the monsoon season. In addition to indigenous oaks and maples, plants like orchids, lichen, and ferns also grow in the area. A huge range of wildlife, including over 500 species of birds, are found here during the cooler seasons before they migrate to higher elevations to escape the hot summers. This is also the primary home for golden langur monkeys. Tropical and subtropical broadleaf forests. Located at 1,650 to 3,300 feet along a narrow strip of the outer Himalayan range are the Himalayan subtropical broadleaf forests. Here there is a wide range of plant life thanks to the area's varied topography, soil types, and rainfall levels. Forest types include subtropical dry evergreen, northern dry mixed deciduous forests, moist mixed deciduous forests, subtropical broadleaf forests, northern tropical semi-evergreen forests, and northern tropical wet evergreen forests. Wildlife includes many threatened species including tigers and Asian elephants. More than 340 different species of birds can be found in this region.
Highest peak. Mount Everest at 29,029 feet, 8,848 meters, is not only the highest peak in the Himalayas, but the highest peak on the entire planet. Other famous peaks include Karakoram, K2, Kailash, Kanchenjunga, Nanga Parbat, Annapurna, and Manaslu. Rivers. The Himalayas are the source for the Indus, the Yangtze, and the Ganga-Brahmaputra. All three are major river systems for the continent of Asia. The main rivers sourced in Himalayas are the Ganges, Indus, Yarlung, Yangtze, Yellow, Mekong, and Nujiang. Glaciers. The Himalayas are the third largest deposit of ice and snow in the world, after Antarctica and the Arctic. There are approximately 15,000 glaciers located throughout the range. At 48 miles, 72 kilometers, in length, the Himalayan Siachen Glacier is the largest glacier outside the poles. Other notable glaciers located in the Himalayas include the Baltoro, Biafo, Nubra, and Hispur.
As a marvelous gift from the great nature, the Himalayas, as well as the surrounding areas, is the destination for many tourists. No matter you are planning your trip to Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, or India, the Himalayas is always on your list. For most general travelers, it is an impossible mission to conquer the highest peak of the world in the Himalayas, but it will be one of the most unforgettable journeys when you visit the forests, the villages, and the mountains of the Himalayas. What makes the Himalayas so attractive? Not only because of the wonders of the nature, the unique culture and the mysterious religions, but also some of the interesting folklores, such the world-famous story of Yeti. In the legend, the Yeti is a kind of huge creature that inhabits in the Himalaya regions in Nepal, Bhutan, and Tibet. It is taller than ordinary people and covered with thick hair. Till 19th century did the Western know the story of the Yeti. And the reports of seeing odd creatures in the Himalayas had been increased during the 20th century. The so-called footprint and the scalp of the Yeti were be found in the past, but till now, it is still hard to say whether there are Yetis or not in the Himalaya regions. However, the legend of the Yeti has always kept people's attention to the Everest, making the Himalaya a destination for the curious explorers from all over the world.